My name is Eliana Mercer, and I will never forget the exact moment I walked into that crowded federal courtroom and saw my Uncle Roy's face turn completely white as chalk. The prosecutor stood up and clearly called my name, Special Agent Eliana Mercer, FBI. Not as a family member sitting quietly in the gallery, not as a supportive niece, but as the arresting agent and one of the key witnesses against him. My Aunt Diane grabbed the edge of the bench so tightly that her knuckles turned white, like the floor had suddenly disappeared beneath her feet. My cousin Preston stared at me with his mouth open, as if I had grown a second head. And Uncle Roy, the man who had spent the last 5 years telling everyone in the family that I was the biggest disappointment and failure the Hargrove family had ever produced, sat frozen at the defendant's table in his expensive tailored suit, slowly turning gray with shock. I had waited almost 3 long years for that one powerful moment of justice, and it was finally here. Before we continue, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment your country and city below. Let me take you back to where this incredible story truly started. Thanksgiving dinner 4 years ago. I was 26 years old at the time, living in a small studio apartment in Columbus, Ohio. At least, that's what my entire family believed. They thought I was still working at a regular sporting goods store, struggling to pay my bills after dropping out of my MBA program. The big family dinner was held at Uncle Roy's beautiful 6-bedroom colonial house in the upscale Dublin neighborhood. It had a perfectly manicured lawn, a 3-car garage, and even a private wine cellar. Roy Hargrove was a well-known real estate developer in central Ohio. He was always on local news, cutting ribbons at new shopping centers, donating to children's hospitals, and getting his name on big plaques. Everyone respected him. No one suspected that behind that charming smile and successful image, he was actually running one of the largest mortgage fraud and money laundering operations in the entire region. That Thanksgiving evening, I sat at the far end of the long dining table wearing a simple sweater I had bought from the clearance rack. Around me, my cousins were shining. Madison had just been promoted to vice president at her financial firm at only 20. Drew had gotten accepted into Ohio State's medical school, and then there was me. When Uncle Roy looked down the table while carving the turkey and asked in his usual mocking tone, "So Eliana, what are you doing these days? Still paying rent at that little apartment?" I quietly replied, "Yes, still paying my own rent." The table went awkwardly silent. Aunt Diane gave me that pitying smile and said, "I'm sure something better will come very soon, sweetheart." My mother, sitting beside me, gently squeezed my hand. She was the only one who always tried to get me, even though it cost her. What nobody at the dinner table knew was that I had not dropped out of my MBA program because I failed or couldn't handle the pressure. 18 months earlier, while working on a class project, I had discovered serious irregularities in several real estate investment portfolios. The properties existed, but the appraisal values were wildly inflated, sometimes by 30, 40, even 60%. And many of those shady transactions were connected to a company called Hargrove Development Group, my own uncle's company. When I took my findings to a trusted professor, he warned me to be careful. When I went to the university ethics office, they told me I didn't have enough proof. Then someone slashed all 4 of my tires in the campus parking garage. That was when I received a call from Dana Okafor, a senior FBI agent specializing in financial crimes. She had somehow heard about a sharp grad student digging into real estate fraud in Columbus. We met secretly, and that meeting changed the entire direction of my life. 3 days later, I officially left my MBA program. Not because I gave up, but because I had become a confidential informant for the FBI. By the time that Thanksgiving dinner happened, I had already been secretly working with the FBI for over a year. I started as a confidential source, but because of my strong real estate knowledge and family access, I gradually became a trained asset. That night at dinner, I watched everything carefully. Uncle Roy left the table twice to take private phone calls. I observed his body language through the glass door. He became tense and serious. On the second call, I clearly heard him say, "Close the Linden account right now." I knew exactly what that meant. The Linden Street property was one I had flagged months earlier, a warehouse conversion with highly suspicious inflated valuations. While everyone was busy with dessert, I quietly excused myself, went to the bathroom, and sent a secure message to Dana, "Linden account being closed tonight." Her reply came within seconds. "We see it. Stay calm, you're doing great." After dinner, while the rest of the family moved to the living room, Uncle Roy cornered me in the hallway. With that fake, generous smile he was famous for, he said, "You know, Eliana, I've been thinking about you. I could use someone with your analytical mind in the office. Nothing too glamorous, just reviewing documents and organizing files. It could be a good foot in the door for you." I smiled politely and told him I would think about it. That night when I got home, I wrote a detailed 12-page contact report for the FBI team. But the real turning point came 2 weeks later when my cousin Nadia, Uncle Roy's youngest daughter, suddenly texted me. She wanted to meet somewhere private. We met at a small bakery on the east side at 7 in the morning. She was already there, nervously holding a coffee mug with both hands. Nadia looked exhausted and scared. She asked me directly, "Eliana, I need you to be honest with me. Are you investigating my father?" The question caught me off guard. After a long pause, she opened her laptop and showed me a secret folder she had been building for almost 2 years. She had photographed hidden financial records, wire transfers, inflated appraisals, and names of corrupt bank officials. At only 23 years old, she had been carrying this heavy burden alone because she was terrified of destroying her mother's life. With Nadia's brave cooperation and all the evidence I had helped gather from inside the family, the FBI built an extremely strong case. The operation finally went down on a cold Wednesday morning in March. 19 people were arrested across 4 counties. Uncle Roy was taken into custody as he lived in expensive breakfast menu at a downtown hotel. I wasn't there for the arrest because I was already in the place, getting prepared to testify at the trial against the Roy's against my trial. They called me bitter, revengeful, and said I was making up stories to settle old family grudges. His lawyer used the word grudge 14 times during cross-examination. But they couldn't explain away the mountains of documented evidence, the cooperating witnesses, and the detailed financial trails the FBI had followed to the last dollar. When the verdict was read, guilty on 23 counts, and the judge sentenced Uncle Roy to 14 years in federal prison, the courtroom was completely silent. Aunt Diane was given immunity because she didn't know the full extent of what was happening, though her signature had been used on many documents. She later filed for divorce. The fake Youth Sports Foundation was shut down, and every victim was ordered to be compensated. The hardest moment for me wasn't watching Roy get sentenced. It was standing in the hallway afterward with Nadia. She was shaking, arms wrapped tightly around herself, tears falling silently. She leaned into me and whispered, "Did we do the right thing, Eliana?" I held her and said softly, "We did the necessary thing. And sometimes that's the same as the right thing." She cried for a long time. "He's still my dad," she said. I nodded and replied, "I know. That pain doesn't just disappear. Today, I am a full-time special agent with the FBI. Dana Okafor is still my supervisor, and one of the smartest people I've ever known. My father was completely cleared after it was proven he was unknowingly used in the scheme. He cried when he finally understood everything I had done for 3 years. This whole journey taught me one powerful lesson. Never underestimate the person everyone has already dismissed and written off. The most dangerous person in the room is often the one nobody is paying attention to, because they never see you coming. If you have ever faced family pressure, betrayal, or had to choose between loyalty and doing what's right? Share your story in the comments. I read every single one. This is Eliana Mercer, signing off. Thank you for staying with me through this long and emotional story. I'll see you in the next one.